my goal here is to be as clear as possible, because Paul told us in Ephesians 4:22 that we are to put off the old person, and if you cannot clearly identify what these old mannerisms or habituations or thought processes are, if you don't have a clear understanding of that, then it will be very difficult to put it off. And so, understanding that there will be some crossover, I want to get into some symptoms for the fear of man. One of those is overeating. And what I mean by that is that a person that they respond to their shyness, or they just being managed by others or diminished by others, and they're looking for a way of escape. And so they use overeating as a way to feel better about themselves. Now, there's other reasons that people will overeat, but it's definitely, or it can be, a symptom for the fear of man. And then, ironically, also too much talking. Some people hide behind their words, and the way that works out is that they take the offense where they are doing all the talking, which doesn't leave them exposed and open to where you can be intrusive in their lives, and so they compensate their insecurity by talking all the time. And it's where perhaps you've heard the expression, "I couldn't get a word in edgewise." Well, it could be that the person is struggling with fear of man, and they use that as a tactic so that they do not feel vulnerable or exposed. Biting nails, that's a nervousness. And again, just let me say one more time, all of these symptoms do not necessarily point to fear of man, but they can. Name dropping, that is another self-elevating way that people will use. It's kind of like gossiping, the opposite of gossiping, yet it accomplishes the same thing. It gives you a sense of self-superiority if you're putting someone down through gossip, or if you're name-dropping by associating yourself with someone who might be famous. Oversleeping is similar to overeating. It is an escape mechanism because of the internal fear that manages you. Not being flexible is a common characteristic of fear of man. It would be similar to the competitiveness that I was talking about earlier. It's the person that can't admit, or they won't admit that they are wrong, and so they make a decision, and rather than changing when they realize that they need to change their mind on a particular subject, they end up doubling down and they become inflexible. And again, this could be a symptom of fear of man. Also, number 7, they must have the last word. Sometimes when I get in a conversation, whether it's email or on social media, for example, with a person who struggles with fear of man, I'm careful to let them have the last word, because I know that if I respond again to them, their insecurity will motivate them to respond in return. They just have to have the last word. They have to finish on top. They cannot be diminished, and they can't let it linger. They have to get that last word in. And so I let them do that, because they have a deeper problem than just the conversation that we're having at the moment. Number 8 here is they won't be transparent, and that makes sense because of the internal shame that they have. They don't want to be vulnerable, don't want to be exposed. They hide behind joking, which is similar to too much talking, and so they use their charisma as a way to hide their insecurity. This is another illustration of using a strength to compensate a weakness. I talked about competitiveness earlier, where a person uses their ability, whatever their strength is, as a way to mask their internal insecurity. And talking too much, for example, can be a strength, because some people just don't have that ability to talk. I'm not a super social person, and so talking too much would be a challenge for me. But they could use that strength of talking too much, or being competitive, or hiding behind joking. The person who has that gift for being humorous, they could be hiding their insecurity. Ongoing soul noise is a symptom of fear of man. And that's when their conscience is constantly talking to them, letting them know that they highlighting their shame or guilt or fear or anxiousness or worrisomeness. A person who struggles this way will have ongoing soul noise that will be captivating. Isolating from others, that's the avoidance that I was talking about earlier. A blame shifter, the individual who, it's kind of like being not flexible. They're not going to accept the fact that they are wrong, and so rather than admitting the mistake, they blame the mistake on another person. A carefully edited representative. This is the person that has a carefully crafted representation of themselves that they trot out in public space because of the shame that they carry internally. Is tied also to what I said earlier about not being transparent, and so they have another image of themselves that they want other people to see and experience. And then finally, false humility, where they learn how to be humble, a learned behavior, and it makes them come across as being better than what they know themselves to be. And so, again, you may want to screen grab this slide as well and use it for conversation.